Good morning. Hello, my name's Beth. This is cooking lessons for my daughter, and I'm really happy you're here. This has been a beautiful experience. I love to cook. I didn't teach my daughter to cook, and so now I'm sharing my 30 plus years of professional restaurant experience, knowledge, techniques, tips, tricks, shortcuts with you guys and my daughter. Hi, Kira. Anyway, today we are making, it happens to be ground turkey chili, but you can just as easily make it vegetarian or use beef. I like this recipe because it's ready to eat right away, within the cooking time. So an hour and a half, as opposed to the all-day simmer kind of chili that I used to do. So the first thing we're going to do is seed these peppers. And yes, you can burn yourself, your eyes, your mouth, whatever, but it is the pith that holds the most heat. The pith and the seeds, not the flesh, although these are jalapenos, so there is some heat in the flesh. Now we're going to make these small strips. I add 2 large jalapenos. And these are a little wilted. Doesn't really matter with peppers. It just makes them a little stronger, I think. I wouldn't normally use a vegetable that I've left out. See how it's withered? But this is a pepper, and it's more for flavor than it is for nutrition. So we can use it. Anyway, I want to cut these really small so that the heat and flavor is well distributed throughout the chili. You can wear gloves. I choose not to. I just wash my hands afterwards really well. And try not to touch anything on my face for at least a couple of hand washes. But gloves will certainly prevent any of it from getting on your hands. The other thing is the juice is on your knife. So remember that. And make sure that you rinse them off. They're steel, they're metal. So they're not going to absorb, the metal does not absorb the heat. It'll wash right off, unlike my fingers. So I'm going to cut the other one, but I'll do that off camera. This is one of the recipes that I have actually weighed the garlic and the onion. So I've already pre-measured it or pre-weighed it. About 6 ounces for the onion. And this is a little bit over 6.5, but we're going with it. And the garlic is 0.8. That was 0.8, but it's not, one of these was 0.8, but it's not peeled yet. So I'm throwing a little bit extra on to make up for the weight of the peel, the paper peel, and the ends that I'm going to trim off. And I wanted to show again the easiest way I have found to peel garlic, and that is the smash method. Were you able to see that? So I cut off the ends because they're just a little hard and I don't like biting into it in my soups or stir fries or whatever. Do you have to? Nope. See, that peel just loosens right up. And if you've got a better way, I know, if you're really doing large quantities, I read about putting it in a closed container and shaking it, and that somehow disturbs, loosens, or removes peel. So if you try that, let me know how it works. But I know I've tried it. I think it does work, but I still come back to this method. Okay, I'm gonna start chopping. So the onion, the way I cut onion, oh, let me do something I forgot to do. I'm gonna rinse and wash my hands. Be right back. This is the onion that I cut in half. This would have been the top, this would have been the root end. So is that cut in half? Yeah, the top, just cut in half down. And then we take the half, keep it together. And it'll take practice. Remember, I've been doing this for a lot of years. And even I, it falls apart sometimes. But, you just want pieces that a little less than half an inch. Not near as small as the pepper. And it's always that last end, that last piece that gets away from you a little bit. And then I just find them. And this is not rocket science, it's cooking. So it's no huge disaster when there's pieces that, aren't the same size, especially soups. All right, so this was an extra piece that I've cut to bring the weight up. All right, so I'm gonna cut the remainders off camera, but we're gonna go over to the stove now and start cooking our ground turkey. We're not quite up to temperature, but it's on medium, and it's not like we're not trying to brown anything or like the vegetable pancakes, which it's really important that you have your pan up to the right temperature. Not critical, but important. I use coconut oil. This happens to be Trader Joe's brand. It's still under $5, I think, in 2023. Organic, virgin, cold pressed, and unrefined. And the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. Well, that's what my old recipe calls for. It adds flavor. And, you can go, ooh, coconut and chili? But it's a layer of flavor, and the flavors all blend. So think of it kind of like, number 1, you're painting a picture. Or number 2, you're creating a perfume. And when you combine flavors, you want flavors that complement each other, like colors, or are on the opposite side of the spectrum of color, to one flavor or one color to boost or burst the other one. So that's a lot of times what citrus is used for. You know, it can really boost a flavor, but you won't really taste it. So we're ready to go. It's hot. We're going to add the ground turkey, 1 pound, and cook it till it's almost done. You want to break it up. Anyway, we're at that point. We're halfway cooked. So now we're going to add the onion and the garlic. Here's the onion. 6 ounces. Chopped onion. Now we're adding the garlic. So we'll let that cook for a couple minutes. Then we'll be ready to add our peppers and spices. Gonna stir it. Okay. Now we're ready to add the peppers. They are diced so that their flavor and heat permeates throughout this batch of chili. Getting it all off the knife, stirring it in. Then it's time for spices. Now I'm a huge fan of cumin. I do like the smell, although sometimes it reminds me of sweat. But it adds such amazing flavor. So, chili powder is 2 tablespoons. Hang on. This is a oblong one, so I can actually reach it in. And it's not necessarily an even, you know, a level, slightly mounded. Can you see it? I'm not sure that you can, well, I'm sure you could add too much chili powder, but that little bit won't matter. 2 teaspoons of cumin. And I slightly knock it off. And 1 to 2 teaspoons of oregano. So I will add 2 of those because it's pulling off more than, yeah, not quite. That's probably about 1.5 teaspoons. And then we stir it in. The onion is starting to go translucent, but not completely. That will finish in the 30-minute simmer. Next, we're going to add tomato paste. This is 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. Now, I used to do long cook sauces, soups, chili. But aside from the fact that you don't have to necessarily watch it all day, you do need to be home all day. And not that I'm not, but these recipes are equally as fine, if not shortcut. So we're going to make sure that all of this tomato paste, or most of it, is dissolved. And we're going to add 1 15-ounce, 15.5-ounce This is 14.5, so somewhere between 14 and 15 ounces of tomato, diced tomato, and I was so thrilled when the small diced came on the market. I just don't like biting into large chunks, like an inch of tomato. See? Very small, less than half an inch. So we're gonna mix it in gradually. Not so gradually. There's not a lot of separate juice. And seriously, other than another 30-minute simmer, we're almost done. So, I use bone broth. Homemade bone broth. With every recipe, if I happen to be out, I ran out not too long ago because my supplier was actually out of bones, but they came in just in time and I made a batch. However, I was getting ready to check at Trader Joe's to see what kind of stuff their bone broth had in it, because I can't buy stock from the store because they put what's called natural flavors, which is a mask for flavor enhancers, yeasts, nutritional, just other things that you will get addicted to because it boosts the flavor to a very specific degree and flavor that you get hooked on it. It's like every snack now has natural flavors or nutritional yeast or what's it called? Well, maltodextrin is actually corn. This was broth off of a roast that I made. So I wanted to get vegetables out of it, but it's so thick. And we're just going to add it. And stir it in. Anyway, bone broth. Bone broth is full of minerals, collagen, protein. And I'll probably do a session on how I make bone broth. If you want to make your own, there are so many videos, recipes, etc. on YouTube. Or blogs. So see how this consistency, it's already pretty thick, which is why we only need to really cook it, simmer it for half an hour. So we're going to cover it. We're going to stay close by because we want it to come to a simmer. So we're going to put a lid on it, probably check it in 5 minutes, and then we're going to turn it down to simmer and let it go for another 25 or 30. So I'm setting the timer for 30. And I'll be back. They have updated the camera app and it allows you to pause. And I realized that when I moved my phone camera, the camera that I use, from this spot to the stove, it might not be the right orientation through part of it. But I'm adjusting, and so I actually stopped it and restarting it. So I'll get it figured out later. But this is cilantro from another recipe that I made. And rather than let it rot in the refrigerator, I just don't cut it or anything. I trim out some of the larger stems, but I just stick it in a bag and stick it in the freezer. And then you can kind of crush it up when it's frozen because it's brittle. But it's like it's already cooked. It's like spinach, you know? You know how that happens? The freezing process. Anyway, so we are going to add this to the pot. And now we're to the sink and we're adding our beans. I use canned beans. It's just more convenient. I don't own a microwave, so, you know, there's certain conveniences I allow and some I don't. And beans are one of them. So this can, and you can see the beans, most of the beans are whole. They're fully cooked. So I'm going to put them in. Now, originally this recipe didn't have beans, but why not? You know, unless you don't like beans, and then you just leave it with the meat and the tomato and the spices. But I do like beans. This is the brand, the organic brand from Kroger, and you can see the beans are nice and whole. And not all beans are equal. So you want to rinse them because it removes the liquid that contains the lectins. So there's lectins in beans and nuts, and that can cause leptins. Yeah, I think it's a leptin. Anyway, those beans were nice and whole. These are from Walmart, and I can already tell that they're more mushed up. You see, not that there's anything wrong with them, but you're going to lose a lot of the beans. As you rinse it. So that's all. There's a difference in the resulting quality, I would say, but I haven't always found that to be true. Sometimes the beans from Walmart are whole, and there's only like a 10 cents different. It just happens to be wherever I am. So I'm adding this to the chili. That was 3 cans. And then I am an avid recycler. All right, so we are going to add our greens and salt. Back at the cutting board, and again, this is a step that you do not have to do, but it adds nutrition to chili, to the chili, and really not much flavor. So I'm picking out the greens that aren't really fully green anymore. And this is not a full container of power greens. I have used in the past, I have used chopped organic, all organic. I have used chopped organic kale from Aldi and Trader Joe's. You do have to clean out the stem. I have used fresh organic dinosaur kale that it's the long dark green spear shaped. You can use any kind of kale, but I like that. You pull the stem out and chop it. It is just that. It is not typically in that great a shape. When I want to use it from Kroger. Yes, this is all going in. This is probably 3 ounces. What else have I used? Oh, power greens. This is from Kroger. It may add more flavor than just using the kale. And again, add however much you want. This is about 3 ounces, and that's about my limit. All right, so I'm going to bring the soup over, and we're going to add the salt. And if you've made my soups before, you know that I like them really thick. Now, the other day I was craving more of a brothy soup. And probably this summer I'll get around to making one of those. I have a few really good recipes. Cabbage tomato, sweet and sour cabbage tomato. It's delicious. All right, so we're going to add these greens. Stir it up. And we're not going to go ahead and eat this yet. We are going to put it in the refrigerator with the lid on and allow these greens to cook with whatever heat is left. In the chili. A note on salt. I do use salt. I use Himalayan pink salt. Himalayan pink salt is mined from caves. So it doesn't have the possible heavy metals that sea salt probably contains. A lot of sea salts do contain. It just makes it easier for me. Now, if you don't use salt at all, this is a third lower in sodium than regular salt. And salt does enhance the flavor. So I encourage you to add some, and we do need sodium. So add some to your home cooking. It doesn't have to be salty, but it does boost your flavor profile. It's like an umami. A soy sauce, those mushroom powders or whatever that, they just add this level of flavor. Okay, we're good. I added about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I may add more later when I eat it. Anyway, we'll come back. So I tasted it, and it does need a little more salt. So I'm going to add another 3/4 teaspoon. And you can see how the greens have wilted. And when this gets reheated to serve, and I am going to have it for dinner tonight, those greens will be cooked a little bit more. Now I add them at the very end so that they're not overcooked, so that the vitamins aren't destroyed, and probably even some of the fiber. So we are good to go. This is such a good, hearty, filling meal. When I serve it with corn chips. Sometimes I put some grated cheese in it to melt. Sometimes sour cream, sriracha, all kinds of things. At any rate, I hope you are enjoying my videos. Please subscribe to my channel and be sure to mark that notification bell as all, because you want to be notified about all my videos. And I'm doing my best to organize them, so check out all the playlists. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much.